Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us. We're excited to have today's training with our partners at Southern California Edison. We have a great program, and it's the S.T.A.R's programming. So S.T.A.R stands for Strategies Towards Achieving Results. This training is intended for you to do just that: grow your business, achieve results, and build capacity. I'm Olivia Rios, Director of Operations and Programs at the LA Latino Chamber, and today's topic is back office capabilities, crucial for success. And this session is very fundamental to all the businesses. So a little bit about our speaker. For over 30 years, Shannon Costello has inspired thousands of people by sharing powerful ways to lead teams, create systems, and increase profit in their business. With a resume that includes McDonald's, Disneyland, and Home Depot, she has managed businesses from 10 to 2,500 associates and dealt with millions of dollars of inventory and revenue. She understands the importance of processes and systems to scale and is great with developing those systems for others. Now she works with entrepreneurs, helping them get the most out of their business and setting processes up for them, and increasing the bottom line with associates and everything else to help create a business. She will cover things like payroll, HR payment functions, recognizing the elements of team building, and how to use technology correctly. And most importantly, how to outsource and find the right vendors for your organization. Before we begin, I'd like to remind you to please mute yourself. Be open to learning. This is an interactive session, so I'll be managing the chat box, and we'd like all participants to be on camera if possible. At the end of our program, our partners at Delta Airlines would come on with some important information, and I'll share the upcoming events. So Shannon, welcome, and the floor is yours.
Thanks, Olivia. Awesome to be here with you guys today. As Olivia said, we're going to talk about back office. And if any of you guys can come on camera with me, this is going to be interactive. I'm just not going to talk to you. I'm going to call on you guys, and I want to know about your businesses and how we can help you. So anybody that's not driving or in a spot, come on camera, join the time with me. It's going to be a fun, interactive time. It's not scary. So go ahead and jump right in. Before I kind of kick into the actual thing, like I said in my resume, I've worked at, I kind of always used to laugh because my resume really is McDonald's. That was my first job, Disneyland, and Home Depot. And, when you think about those, you think, really, that's the resume? But dig a little bit deeper in those companies, and they're all known for systems and processes. How many Home Depot or McDonald's has the most stores in the entire, not only the West Coast, but they're now overseas. They're an international corporation, and they got that way from the systems and the processes they developed. Disneyland is known for the best customer service in the world. Well, at least they used to be. Their reputation kind of keeps going in and out of the media right now, but there's still some great lessons there. And then Home Depot. When I was at Home Depot, it was back in the 90s when they were exploding. We were opening on the West Coast. We opened 500 stores in 10 years. So when you really dive into it, systems, processes, and the biggest piece of all of it is your people. So if you guys are cool with it, we're going to do some PowerPoint. Let me get my slides up for you guys so you guys can see what we're talking about. But I'm not going to use my slides the whole time. Like I said earlier, you guys are going to get to, where are my slides? There we go. You guys are going to get to interact with me, and hopefully you're going to get a lot out of this. There we go. All right, so how many of you, and you can either put in the chat or raise your digital hand, either way, how many of you are business owners right now today? Anyone? All right, how many of you are excited about this topic and want to learn more? All right. So we've got some business owners. We've got some people who are interested in doing this stuff. We're going to start at the ground level and work our way up. So you guys all know where your safety exits are. Edison wants to make sure everybody's safe when we're doing these. You guys are all at home or in offices, so hopefully you know that. Our learning objectives today, as we talked about a little bit, Olivia announced for us, we're going to be doing payroll. We're going to do HR. We're going to talk about team building. We're going to talk about how you outsource And then we're going to talk about technology. Now, a lot of people are afraid of technology. By the end of this class, maybe you'll be not as afraid as you were before. Here we go. All right. And what you guys are going to take away from this, you're going to know how to operate your business just a little bit more effectively than you do today. You're going to understand technology and not be afraid of it. Now, if you're business owners, you're probably not afraid, but I know some business owners that are like, I am not techie. I do not want to do that. Do not make me go in there. That is scary. So we're going to take that scary piece away from you and give it back, give you some power over your tech. You're going to understand team building and why team building is important as you build your businesses. HR, how to effectively use it in your businesses, and again, systems and processes. Because if you can set something up once, other people can run it for you. Because, you know, as entrepreneurs, a lot of times you're the only one, or maybe only one or two or three people in your business. And you end up working from sun up to, well, when the moon comes back down, like 24 hours straight, working on your business, because that's what's required. So we want to take some of that away from you and give it back to you. So we're going to start with some fun facts. Did you know that 20% of businesses fail within the first year? Known fact. And then 50% of those 20% will fail within 5 years. And by year 10, only 1/3 of those actually survive. So part of what we're talking about today is making sure that you and your companies, you guys all want to be one of the ones that survive. Raise your hands digitally or on camera. Either way, if you want to be one of the ones that survive, 10 years from now, you want to be running the business that you started for whatever reason you started your business. All right. So the first thing we're going to dive into is payroll. And I've got a quote on the screen. I don't know if you can see it or not, but there are no secrets. It's the result of preparation, hard work, and learning from failure. That's what makes your business work. If you don't get to just snap your fingers and magically you have an amazing running business that happens. It's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears is what I say. But you know what? It's also a lot of rewards at the end when you actually make it do what you're looking for it to do. So what we're going to do today is we're going to start with paying your team. How many of you guys have a team? Anybody have a team? Put team in the chat if you have a team of people that you work with. Some of you guys might be smaller, some of you might be larger, but you know, whether you have just an assistant or whether you have a whole team of people behind you, there's still a team. So we want to make sure that we take that team. And how many of that team that you have will continue working if you don't pay them? What happens if you don't pay them? They leave. Let's turn it around the other way. If you were working for someone and they didn't pay you, would you stay? We all want to be rewarded for the hard work that we do, right? And it's not even a reward. We did the work. We want to get paid for it. So we're going to talk about today some options that you have for payroll, because payroll is the first piece of the puzzle. So what you've got to take care of in payroll sounds really easy. Well, I'll just give them a check and we'll be all set. There's a lot more to payroll than meets the eye. So when you're talking about payroll, you're talking about completing payroll forms. How often do you pay your people? Do they get paid once a month, once a week, once every 2 weeks? How do you want to pay them? Do they get paid quarterly? Everything can be, it all depends on how you want to pay them. You've got to track their hours. If you hire hourly employees, you've got to know how many hours to pay them. Do you know if they're working during those hours that you pay them? They turned in 16, you think they only worked 8. How do you work that? How do you make that happen? Track their benefits. If you tell them that they get vacation hours, you have to track that. And it's usually tracked based on how many hours you work. So if you work X number of hours, you accumulate X number of vacation hours. Same thing with sick leave, if that's one of your benefits. You got to make payments. You make payments not only to the employees, but Uncle Sam also takes a chunk, right, when you're a business owner. And then at the end of the year, you're going to issue W-2s and 1099s. Now, W-2s are for what? Employees that actually work under your umbrella. 1099s are for your what? Your remote workers. All right. So now, how many of you are doing your own payroll right now? Anybody doing their own payroll? Like sending the checks out or sending everybody their information, sending, Zelling them information. I mean, I've got some employers that I work with that Zell me my payments. I get paid monthly and I get a Zell payment in the mail. Okay. That's okay when you're smaller, But as you grow, and even for a larger company or smaller company that is growing, I suggest that you use a payroll service. And the reason I suggest you use a payroll service is they know the laws. They know what you have to do. You also, like most of you are probably mostly in the Los Angeles area, but what happens if you take on workers from other areas? What happens if you hire someone from, say, New York and they're on your team? You've got to follow the New York employees payroll standards, right? I work for a company out of Georgia. Guess what? They got to follow the California law. And California laws are set up pro-employee, not necessarily pro-employer. So you have to know what those are. Payroll services know those. They know where to look. They know how to do it. Plus, it's one last thing that you do not have to do. So there are a ton of these out there. I just picked 4 of the top ones. QuickBooks has a payroll system. Gusto has a payroll system. Paychex and Sure Payroll. They all have payroll systems. They're all services that you outsource. You send them your hours. You say, Olivia worked 12 hours, Anna worked 14 hours, Carlos worked 120 hours. They have their rates. They know their withholdings. They know their deductions. They calculate how many hours of overtime they got. They calculate how many hours of all the things that you need to calculate every time you pay someone, they will do it for you. So what you want to look for when you're looking for payroll systems, what do they offer? How easy are they to use? Are they affordable? Some of these, the ones that I'm showing you, are all pretty affordable, but be strategic when you're looking and look into how affordable are they? Do they have access to the benefits? What is their reputation? What do they work with? Integrations, meaning do they work with systems that you're already using, or do you need to look at a different system that will work with what you're always using? How many times are they out? Meaning if you're paying for a service and it's out 60% of the time, you don't want to use that service. And then do they have an employee self-service portal? Some of the ones that I've used Gusto, and I can log in and I can see how much money I've made, how much money has the IRS taken, where am I at, how much vacation do I have, just as an employee. You could also do it as the employer. You could log in and see all your people. You can see how much money you've made. All right, so that's payroll. Does anybody, before I move on to invoicing, now we've paid everyone. Does anyone have any questions? Let me see what's in the chat. Anybody have any questions on payroll? Is anybody using an outside company now in their payroll? If they are, put me in the chat. If you're outsourcing your payroll now. Me, all right. So Teresa, you're outsourcing already. Perfect, cool. Olivia is, all right, cool. I use ADP, perfect. That's one of the services that's awesome out there. That's for, you must have a larger company. Marina, do you have a pretty good sized company? Because ADP is definitely a great source. We use them when I was at Home Depot, but it's a little bit more expensive, and it's usually for a larger size company.
I have about, I have a lot of tutors, so I have about 50 to 60 tutors at one time.
That's why. Okay, that's perfect. And they are a great source. I don't usually highlight them here because most of the people that I work with have smaller companies, but great source. Me, BBS. So you guys are already, it looks like this group, you guys, I've got the smart group today, Olivia. Thanks for bringing them in because they are already on track with it. All right, so now we know how to pay your people. So the next thing we're going to talk about is invoicing your people. That's not the one I want. So first you paid them. And now you want to invoice them because you don't want all your money going out. You do want some money coming in, right? You do some hard work for people and you want to make sure that, why did this thing reset? All right. It shouldn't have reset. Give me 1 second. My slides are doing something funky. We'll figure it out in a second. All right. So you paid them out. Now the next thing you need to figure out is how do you get money coming in on a regular basis? And again, you have the ability to do it yourself. You can invoice yourself. You can do it the old-fashioned way. My mom ran a floral business most of the time that I was growing up, and she did it handwritten. She would deliver it to the people. Well, we're in the age of fast, right? We're in the age of digital. We're in the age of, email me that invoice, send me that invoice. So similar to payroll, I'm going to suggest that you guys use an invoicing system. So you can manual invoice, and there's some great positives with that. It's easy to use. You can make it specific for the client. You just write down what you're doing. You can adjust it. It's flexible. But there's some negatives about actually doing it the old-fashioned way as well. You got to enter your items every time. So if you're talking about, whatever it is that you do, and you've got to enter X436555, that's say your product number, every single time you write an invoice, that's not quick. If you use a system, you can pull that automatically in, and it already has a price. And most of them will override your price if you need to override it for a certain thing. Your room for error is great. We are human. We make mistakes. I know most of us don't make any, but every once in a while, we might actually make a mistake. And if you make a mistake on an invoice that you send to a client, could be difficult getting that person to, change and want to pay you the actual lien. It's time consuming. It takes a little bit more time. It doesn't have to be a lot more time, but when you start adding those minutes up as you grow, it might not be bad right now. You might only have 15 or 20 clients right now, but what if you had 200? And what if those 200, you had to do their invoices at the end of the month for each one? Now you can do it on a computer, and there's lots of options, but we are going to talk about the same thing we talked about on the last one, invoicing software. You load your products up, you load your clients up, they talk to each other. This client has these products. It was this much in shipping. There are some great invoicing software out there. And no matter what size your company is, I'd say that invoicing software is the way to go. What the invoicing software is going to do for you, it's going to track your invoices and your payment statuses. Now, how many of you, as soon as you send the payment, your clients pay on time every single time? Never have any late problems, never have anybody that's credit card went south, never had anybody that you got whoop, whoop. We all know that's not reality, right? We know that what's going to happen is people are going to forget, or things are going to get delayed. So you're invoicing, you have the ability to say, hey, these invoices were paid. These are still outstanding for this month. So that helps you. You're not going through your list of invoices and saying paid. Oh, this one's missing. Let me call this person. Let me call this person. You can automate a report that will show you who's missing. It reduces missed payments, which I just talked about. It boosts your company reputation because it just looks a little bit more professional than the old-fashioned way. It simplifies your accounting and your financial processes. When you got to do your books at the end of the year, if it's done this way, it makes it a whole lot easier, and it protects sensitive information from hacks. If you're doing it the old-fashioned way, it's usually in a notebook. It's not going to get hacked, but if you're just doing it on Excel and your computer gets hacked, it could get hacked. Now, just like before, these are just for people who do invoicing: FreshBooks, PayPal, Wave, and QuickBooks. I've used all four of them in different scenarios. They're all good. Again, if your company's larger, you might use some other larger invoicing companies, but I would definitely look into an invoicing company for your business. And see what's going on. Now, from there, now we know how to pay our people and we know how to get paid. We're going to move into HR. Does anybody love HR in this group? Are they like, do I have any HR managers? Is anybody like, I love digging into the HR and the human resource part of it? Anybody with their hand up? I'm not seeing anybody with their hand up. All right, HR is not everybody's favorite. Now, there are some people who absolutely love it, and that's great. It's for them. But HR is the necessary piece of every single business. And that's because we are dealing with human beings. We haven't got all the way. We have AI, but AI does not do the job for you. AI gives you suggestions to make your job easier. You still got a human being that's writing your newsletters. You still have a human being that might be running the backhoe. Whatever your business is, you're dealing with human beings. Therefore, you have human resources. You have people who do a great job. You have people who don't do a great job. You have people who follow directions. You have people who don't follow directions. So using HR correctly will give you, A, it will help develop your team, and B, it will also make you legally following the rules and the laws that California has put in place for their employees if you need to improve their performance or if for some reason you need to terminate someone. Right? So if you're following those HR rules and the laws and the pieces of the puzzle that are there, it will help protect you. And it actually helps protect the employee as well. All right. So here's 10 tips that we've got to help small businesses and medium-sized business avoid costly HR errors. So the first thing is, if you find someone really good, hire them on your team. Find a place for them, find a way to make them work. Don't let the good people slip through the cracks. Evaluate your employees. How many of you guys have a evaluation system that you do biannually or annually? Raise your hands if you've got that, or put yes in the chat if that's you. Because believe it or not, your employees want to know how they're doing. Just like you in your job, you want to know, how am I doing? Where am I going? If I'm the owner, I have to look to my results for how I'm doing. But if I'm an employee, I want to know, am I doing a good job? If I'm working for Olivia, for example, I want to know, does Olivia like what I'm doing? Am I making mistakes? Am I doing like that? Feedback is very important to them. So whether it's good or bad, and believe me, even when it's bad, they already know that it's bad. Like when you make a mistake, are you waiting for someone else to tell you you made a mistake? No, you already know that mistake was made, but it's just that feedback between the two of you. It's open communication, and the more open communication you have, the better performance you're going to get from those employees. Get an employee handbook, no matter what size your company is, because it tells people what to expect. What happens? How do I call in sick? Who do I call in sick to? Do I get vacation time? Do I not get vacation time? Do I get the 4th of July off, or should I expect to work? Those questions can be answered with an employee handbook, and it just lays out exactly what you're expecting from your employees. Give feedback and rewards. We talked about that just a little bit, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more in more depth. Use technology when possible, digital papers. Be abreast of laws and regulations as they're changing. Like I said, California is one of the strictest states when it comes to employees. So know some of those laws. We're going to talk about a few of them in a minute, but stay on top of them. Get a good attorney. It doesn't mean you have to have them on site and you're paying them monthly, but have someone that you can, if something does happen, you can run it by an attorney. You can ask an attorney. Some of them have office hours where you can do, ask me the question and find out, but I would definitely find someone. And then mind the compensation. Are they being paid fairly for the job they're doing? Have they been there for 3 years and not gotten any raise? Because put yourself in their shoes. How would that do? So just kind of keep an eye on that. And then the last one I have is form those partnerships, payroll services, recruiting organizations, technology vendors, HR people. All right. So you do know you actually can outsource HR now. Is anybody aware of that? They do have companies that you can use, you can go to for your HR questions, for your HR issues, to know what steps do I need to take in this situation? What steps do I need to take in that situation? Because there's so many different things going on. There are companies now that you can use to outsource all of your HR to. The best thing to do is what to do. What do you do? Well, the first thing I would say is if you're not sure, ask for help. Don't fight it alone. What not to do? Don't accuse. Don't step into things that you're not sure of. And don't put people down. Make sure that you're doing it in a positive. You can have a negative conversation in a positive way. You guys understand what I'm saying when I say that? It can be a positive, constructive conversation where you're talking about people and their performance. And again, most of the time when you're talking about their performance, they already know the issues that you're talking about. I had an employee one time that I worked with, and he would come in late. We started at 8 o'clock. He would come in between 8:30 and 8:45. And so I said to him, I said, hey, we didn't have a conversation. Okay. And I said, I've documented you 3 times already. We've talked about the fact you can't come in at this time. I need you to be here. You do a good job when you're here, but I can't allow you to come in at 8:45 and everybody else to have to come in at 8. Why? Because that sets up a bad precedence for everybody else. If I let him get away with it, what does everybody else say? Well, she doesn't care. If he comes in late, then I'll come in late. And pretty soon I've moved my start time from 8 to 8:45. So long story short, I sat him down and I said, hey, you do a great job, but I need you here at 8 o'clock. Okay. And I said, here's the deal. The next time you're not going to make it at 8 o'clock, set your alarm, get here at 7:45 if you need to, but I need you here at 8. I said, the next time you're not going to be here at 8 o'clock, I want you to call me and just tell me where to send your paycheck. The next day, the guy called me at 9:30 and told me where to send his paycheck. What does that tell you? I mean, come on. I was not expecting that at all. But you know what? We'd had a conversation. He knew where I stood. I was very like, you've been documented. I've talked to you. This is not our first conversation. Let's do it. And the very next day he calls me and he says, yep, I'm not coming in today. So just send my paycheck. The address on file is correct. So who knew? You know, people, you're dealing with people. It's all about understanding how different personalities work and how they work with you. Okay, so I'm gonna actually take this slide down for a second. Hopefully it will stay there this time. If not, we'll put it back in a second. Do you guys have any questions on payroll, on HR, on any of the stuff that we've gone over? It's a great time to, like, before I dive into the next section, does anybody have anything? If you want, raise your hand or throw it in the chat. If not, I'll keep moving, but I want to give you the opportunity in case you have some questions there, Lion. This is critical stuff for your business, and you know. Are you guys getting anything out of today? If so, put yes in the chat. Just kind of let me know if I'm on track with what you guys need.
All right, so I just checked the chat box.
Okay.
I think everyone is pretty good. The only comment was from Sony Ramos. As a group health insurance broker, we are working with more and more outsourced HR representatives who work for multiple companies.
Okay.
Other than that, you know, thank you. Great refresher.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. And I mean, this stuff, if you have a business, this is a lot of the stuff that you have to know when you start. So yeah, we're definitely going on there. All right. So now we're going to jump into building and training your team. Now, how many of you guys have teams? Put me in the chat if you've got a team that you're building and that you think it's super easy to build teams and you never have any associate problems. You never have any issues at all. Okay. All right. So what we're going to talk about is taking your business level to the next, taking your team to the next level. So let's say that your team now is 6 or 7 people. You want to expand your team. You want them to grow. And maybe you want to take your revenue from where you're at now. Maybe you're at 5 figures now and you're looking to go to 6. Maybe you're at 6 figures looking to go to 7. Maybe you're at 10 figures looking to go to 20. I don't know, but this will work for all of them. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit about hiring, and then we're going to talk about building and training that team. All right. So you guys have all heard the expression, I'm sure, teamwork makes the dream work. And it absolutely does. I've worked in situations where the team comes together. They're all congruent. People work together. They want to help each other and they want to see everyone succeed. And I've also worked in situations where that's not the case, where people are not willing to do anything other than their specific job. I've worked in situations where people blame each other, where people are, it's just not a good environment to work in. Have any of you guys ever been in an environment that you're just like, nope, not happening? I mean, if you look at the news right now, people are leaving organizations, and they're not leaving organizations in the most part because of the organization. They're leaving because of the leader. So what I want to help you guys understand is how to be that amazing leader and how to have a team that's going to support you and support each other to make your team, to make your company that much stronger. All right. So the first thing we're going to talk about is qualities of a great team member. And I've got a couple up here. I've got dedicated, curious, and responsible, but go ahead and unmute or put in the chat. What do you think are some great qualities? And Olivia, if you can see the chat, let me know if they put in some great qualities in the chat of what do they want out of a team member?
Okay, I'm watching the chat.
Okay, cool. And Olivia, while you're watching the chat, what do you look for in a team member?
A lot of it has to do the willingness to learn and, you know, being open to learning and also taking an initiative to do X.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, cool. Well, we're just going to keep moving.
Okay.
All right. Absolutely. All right. So
we have a couple comments. So Anna
Okay,
shared willingness to learn, great attitude. Teresa shared taking initiative, kindness, thoughtfulness. Marina shared collaboration.
Awesome. Those are all great traits and definitely something I would want in somebody that I would hire. So I'm always looking for, attitude is everything. I can teach you skills. I cannot teach you attitude.
Mhm.
So, I'm always more willing. I'll take someone who doesn't necessarily have as great of the skill, knowing I can train that skill. But if I have someone who interviews and the attitude just isn't there, or their values don't match mine, like you guys all have certain values that are important to you. If my values and your values don't match, we're not going to be a great match when we're working on a day-to-day side by side, or even an outsourced type of business. We're not going to work well. If I'm very much into integrity and honesty, and your MO is that you're going to lie and you're going to tell me things that aren't true, we're not going to work well together. So just know those things. And when you're doing your interviews and your hiring processes, put some of those questions in there. Like, what are your top 3 values that you live by? What's the important thing to you? Ask them off the wall questions. They give you answers. Stay in legal, because there are some HR issues that you can't answer, that you can't ask. But as long as you stay in legal, you can ask about their characteristic. You can ask about their values. You can ask, what was the most important thing that you did in your last job? That gives you some insight into what was going on. How about if you ask this, what's the hardest thing that anybody's ever asked you to do in a job? There's nothing illegal about what I just asked. And what their response tells you, if you listen correctly, if you listen closely, that response will tell you what they thought about their last boss, what they thought about the job that they were assigned. Listen and read between the lines, and it will give you a lot of insight into those people that you're working with and that you're interviewing. All right. So the first piece of this too is, how many of you guys understand that if you can paint the vision for people, like if you can tell me where I'm going, I'm going to jump in the boat a whole lot faster than if I don't know where I'm going. You guys ever get in a car and just take off? Like, it's an adventure day. We don't know where we're going. Well, if you don't know where you're going, how do you know when you get there? Right. And I know I'm not real keen on, if I don't know where I'm going, I'm like, nope. What do we want to find? Where are we going? I need directions. We've all got the GPSs in our cars now, on our phones and our cars everywhere. So a lot of times what happens with our, sorry, the dog has an opinion on what I'm talking about right now. A lot of times in our businesses, we forget to paint the vision for the people that work with us. And the reason that's important, like you might say, the only person that needs the vision is the owner. And that's not true. Because if the person that's doing the work understands why they're doing the work, you get a much better take. If I'm like, oh, I'm building a graphic and here's the reason I'm building it, I'm going to build a better graphic. Or if I'm digging a hole and I know it's for a swimming pool, or I know it's for a grave, depending on what your businesses are, there's all kinds of different things. But if I understand what the final result is, I can get to where I'm at. So work together with your people, paint the vision. Don't keep them in the dark. Let them know, hey, this is what we're doing. I want to make $3 million this year. Cool. How are we going to get there? These are the steps we're going to take there to get there, and then include them and bring them in as part of your team. All right. So now what we're going to talk about is, when do you delegate? How do you find the right person? Delegating means training, and you got to be prepared to grow. Now, a lot of you have people in your businesses already, and they are in a certain position. Have you ever worked with someone in a certain position and realized they're in the wrong position? Like maybe they're in accounting and they should be in advertising. Their skills are in advertising, but for some reason they were hired in accounting. The trick to your business, put the right people in the right cogs. If they're not a technology person, do not have them doing your CRM and your campaigns. Move them to the right positions in your field. All right. The next piece is motivating your team. Now, how many of you think you can motivate another human being? Can you motivate somebody else? Yes or no? Yeah? All right. How do you think you motivate somebody else? Give me some answers in the chat. Let's see what you guys think.
All righty. So we have money, compensation, buy-in,
Right. Great. Those are all great,
Answers.
great answers. And you guys are all on, okay. Those are all great answers, and those are all perfect. You guys are on the right track. You guys are great business owners. I bet your businesses are going great. The trick is getting that person, give them that vision, let them have ownership, let them show you their creativity, and then hold them accountable. Now, accountability, a lot of people use that as a negative word. Accountability is not really negative. If I'm asking Anna on my team, Anna's on my team, I just promoted Anna. Anna is going to do the marketing for my team. And I'm going to tell her, I need you to do X, Y, and Z, and I need them done by this date. Now I can hold her accountable because I told her what I needed her to do, and I told her when I needed to do it. Now, most people, when you hold them accountable, they want that accountability. They want to know, what do you want me to do? When do you want me to do it? They don't want to fall down on deadlines. And you know what? You can call them on them. And as soon as you do it a couple times, they will then know that you're going to call them on a regular basis. All right. Anybody ever have any employees that just don't want to be there? Their motivation is lacking? Or do you guys have the perfect employees that show up every day and they can't wait to get there? Because I know I've had both. And so these are some signs that your motivation is lacking. They're calling in sick. They're calling in late. They're calling in, I'm just taking a vacation day today. They're only doing the bare minimum. They're doing just enough. You guys ever had those employees that do just enough to keep their job, but not enough to do what you actually need them to do? I know I have had those employees, and they're hard to deal with because you can't really hold them accountable because you can hold them accountable for the job, but their answer is, I'm doing my job. I know how to do my job, right?
I have a quick question, not to interrupt. So how do we deal with a lot of our new workforce that does bare minimum on Mondays? There's this whole trend about bare minimum Mondays where people are just slow as molasses trying to get through the day.
Right.
On a Monday. Yeah.
So do you have specific things they have to get done on that Monday?
No, well, not me personally.
No, I know. I'm just
not in a
general.
chamber, but there's this big movement about
Bare minimum
Mondays. Yeah.
So typically Monday is usually the hardest day of the week. And I would say that because usually you've got all the catch up from the weekend. You're trying to get things up and running again. So what I would do is I would put challenges out there. I would say, you know what, instead of let's turn it around and let's celebrate. If we can get X number of things done, make something fun that they don't expect on a Monday. Turn Monday around so that it's no longer that bare minimum Monday. You make it super fun and super exciting. It doesn't mean you don't get the work done, but you're going to actually like surprise them with, okay, I brought donuts in for everybody, but here's what I need you guys to get done in place of it. Or whatever it is that you reward your people with, I would just turn it around that way. And not support bare minimum Mondays. And you know what? The other thing is we've got to lead by example. So if they see us, if they see us leading and they see, Anna, do you had something to add on that? Because I saw you're shaking your head.
That's what I was going to say. I said, it especially with COVID, it's really created, unfortunately, an environment where the energy isn't within your environment, and so that it starts with leadership. It ends and starts with leadership. And if we're not present and involved with the energy that flows through your offices, it's unfortunate. Because we're seeing a workforce that is just, reacting, unfortunately, in a way where it's not productive. They're not holding themselves accountable because there's all these other excuses and reasoning. I mean, it's in the workforce environment that this is acceptable. And so again, how do we work on that? It's a challenge for everybody, but everybody's workforce reduced. So I think it's unfortunate, but at the same time, it's allowed us to redesign the way in this new world of owning a business. How does that look and how are we going to function to keep our doors open? And it creates, the opportunity within business owners as myself. It begins and it starts with us, and it's not easy. It really isn't easy, but.
You are absolutely correct. And you hit it on the head. Exactly. You've got to lead by example, and you've got to be that person who's in your businesses, on the phone with people, and just always your best foot forward and just going for it 100%, no matter what day of the week it is.
And you can measure it. I notice,
you can.
and everyone notices it, when my husband, who is the other owner of this company, when he's in the environment, it takes there's a different flow, there's a different level of expectation, and
Yep.
it's pretty cool, because it proves to people that they have it within themselves. And yet sometimes it's unfortunate, because you mentioned, I remember the days of us having a job description. I mean, that's really not necessarily or acceptable anymore. People don't get these jobs and get this, job description anymore. To me, I always say, but it's whatever it takes to get the job done. And it's worked for me because I'm always this go-getter. I just love to create my own, my own vision and that's why I want to be a boss. It's who I need to be, and I'm expecting everybody else to be like that, and yet it's not. And the other part is I realize that not everybody is a manager or a leader. There are just really effective workers, and I think we need to find value in that, and that's hard to come by, right?
Absolutely. And you hit some great points, and you're absolutely right, Anna, is that there are people who are just happy with, in my history, there were people that had been cashiers for Home Depot, and they would been there for 20 years and they were perfectly fine being there for another 15. And I was like, get me out. I want to keep climbing. As I'm a go-getter, I'm an energy person. But you have to, as you lead and as you step into those roles, you have to recognize who the people are that want to climb and who the people are that are great at doing the job they do. They do a great job at it, and you need those people.
Right.
You need those people you can count on.
And the other thing is, again, I don't want to take over, but I learned from my Daryl Bean, in charge of, he's the chair of economic and workforce development for the county. And I'm in a lot of the county meetings, and what they're saying is, it's just how we're defining it now. And they're saying, well, there's no level, as respect, loyalty. So that just gives longevity. You're not interviewing people and say, where do you see yourself in 5 years? We're lucky if they stay with us a year or two, right?
Yep.
And then I'm saying, so what happened? Well, the thing is, I think we need to put it back in our environment to teach them the level of loyalty and respect, and because it's not just going to happen again. And so how do we do that? And you're right. It's creating that environment that I always say, when you get in the car in the morning and you're driving to a place where you don't want to be, that is the first sign, that's not the job for you. That's not the place for you, and it would really make me sad if anybody came to our office and didn't want to be here, because that's an awful thing to do. We're dealing with enough in this world now, right? So
yep,
there's a lot to be said.
You are absolutely right. And you've hit a lot of really great points on that. And I do think that a lot of it is the environment that we've allowed to create. And I do think that a lot of it is we've got to step up as the leaders. If we're going to be the leaders in the organization, they're going to see it from us first.
Right.
And so, one of the next things we're going to talk about is like, establish incentive programs. Why do I want to be there? Why do I want to work for you? Like, people have choices. They had the great exodus or whatever, where everybody was leaving corporate and now they're starting their own businesses. Well, they're doing that because of the culture and the leadership that was there. So if we see that, how do we change that leadership in our own environments that we're in? And we don't have to be like, I was not the president of Home Depot, but I was able to make a difference with the people that I was around.
Right.
And it doesn't matter what position your title says on your name plaque. It matters what position you feel you are in here. And if you're a leader, say thank you, say please. I say thank you no matter what the job is. If you're the janitor or if you're the CEO, I am going to treat you with respect.
Right.
And I think that as a company or as a community and a world, we've stepped away from that a little bit. And I think that that's part of what we're trying to do with the team building is build it back into your culture in your environments. Get those employee incentive programs. Catch me doing something right. That's one of my you'll see a slide in here in a minute, is catch me doing something right. If I'm doing something right, reward me for that. The joke is if you get called by your boss, you're going to the principal's office, right? Well, what I used to do was call them in and be like, reward them, surprise and delight. You hear that in customer service all the time. Turn it around and make it for your employees. How can you surprise and delight your employees? I'm not saying you have to have a pizza party every Friday or anything like that, but you know what? saying, hey, Anna, thanks for taking care of that customer at the level that you did. I really recognized it. That doesn't take anything. And it recognizes Anna at a level where she's like, they do see me. Or, hey, Olivia, great job on that, on the person that you had, last week to come in to talk to us from Delta Airlines. I really liked her. That tells Olivia, hey, I'm doing a good job. So those are kind of some of the same, we're on the same strain of what you were talking about. Get to know your employees. What are they doing? If they have kids, if they have dogs, if someone's in the hospital, know it. I'm not saying that you have to know them, like you don't all have to be best friends, but if Carlos is going into the hospital or for his wife is going into the hospital, hey, Carlos, and you see Carlos 2 or 3 days later, hey, how's your wife doing? Those are things that we can do, and they're simple things. They don't cost any money, but guess what? Carlos says in his mind, they care. And what's the one thing you guys have all seen the slogan? They don't care how much you know until they know how much you care, right? Caring first. They want to know that you care. And let them have ownership in their work. I don't know all the answers. Tell them that. Be upfront with them. It doesn't mean you can't have processes, but if I have a process and Christians like that process is dumb, I can do it better, listen to them. It doesn't mean you have to change the process, but at least give them a voice to say, hey, I'm being heard. Because that's what most people want, whether it's angry customers or whether it's employees, they just want to be heard. Listen to what they're saying, give it a little bit, test it, try it. Maybe maybe Christian's way is better than mine. I've never done it that way, so it could be. But so many of us have like, okay, we have to stay within we're going to stay within this channel right here. We can't step to the left and we can't step to the right. And you know what? Sometimes the left way might be better than the center way. So that's what I would encourage you to do. And give your people feedback. Be okay with failure. Is everything that you do always going to be perfect? No, we're human. Is everything your employees ever do always going to be perfect? No. So you know what? Be okay with that failure. I'm not saying to set up a culture of failure. No way. But you know what? Once in a while, things are going to go awry. And if you respond to it in the right way, you're actually going to go light years into building that trust and that leadership that you need for your company. Anybody else have anything to add to that discussion? Great job, Anna. Thank you for your input. I loved it.
So I have Teresa Beardsley, whose comment is culture starts at the top. Every time we complete a huge project, I write a thank you card to every single person on the team, which is sometimes like 75 people, very specific to everyone's position. And I've gotten the best feedback from this practice.
That is awesome.
That's really nice.
That is awesome, Teresa. Keep that up. I know sometimes it's like harder work on us as the leaders, but you guys get it. And I will tell you, when you do things like that, that's when your employees say, I'm going to stay with her forever. Even if she changes jobs, I'm going to follow her. I'm going to make sure that I'm on her wagon, because not many people will take the time out of their day to do a handwritten card and send it to all people. And you get those cards in the mail and you're like, when it's a hand stamped card that they sent out, like, generically to everybody, and when it's a personally written card, and the personally written cards every time will catch your attention more than the first ones.
And those are the ones that we tend to save, for years on end. And we reflect on the good job that we did or the team that we were part of. And it's, it really kind of boosts your morale, not
Absolutely.
Just personally, but for your team.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So great job on that. You guys have got some great insight on this. And the next slide is basically what we were talking about earlier. Catch people doing things right and reward them. I don't know if you guys have been to Home Depot, but if you've ever been in there, they all wear the orange aprons, and you see the guys that have like those patches, and they have like 30 or 40 of those patches. Have you guys ever seen those? They have them stapled down the sides of their apron. They'll have hundreds of them. Those are for catching them doing something right. And those are given to the managers to give to the employees for when Christian is in the store and they do something good for him. When Teresa needs help getting a box of tile down that's too hard for her to reach, and I happen to see it as a manager, it's us catching them doing things right And then after they got 5 of those, they were able to trade them in for cash. And some of those guys will have like 200 of those stapled to their apron because they are, and Olivia said it, they're proud of the fact that they did a good job and they were able to help someone at a higher level. So it's just little things, guys, but that's how you're going to be able to get through this. All right, training. Actually, this is good. Ask people what they need and help them develop, aid them in their knowledge and skills, and help them reach the next level. If you guys, sometimes people at the top are worried, oh, the people underneath me, I got to keep them lower than me. If you're in a team, think about this, just close your eyes and imagine this for a second. You guys are all leaders. You guys are all here because you're looking for growth. Think about it. If you had a team of 15 people around you and they were all as good as you, how strong would your team be? What if you were the worst person in your room? You rock. So you'd have a whole team of superstars. Would that help your organization? I think it would. All right. Now, the next thing we're going to go to is we are in 2023 and we're talking about remote workers versus everybody being in office. How many of you are currently, put yes in the chat if you're currently using remote workers? Anyone? Or is everyone in offices in this group?
Yeah.
All right. So more and more, we're going to remote workers. More and more, we don't have an office. It used to be if you had 60 people, they would all be in one office. You could walk from cubicle to cubicle and you could say, I need you to do this, change to this, move to this. I'm going to have a meeting. Everybody go to the conference room. Well, now that's not the haps. Now you have people all over the world. We have companies who their center is in Georgia. They have people in the Philippines, people in Mexico, people in Canada. You have people that are VAs from all over the world. How do you deal with that? How do you work with that? Well, Zoom, I'm sure all of you guys were on Zoom right now. Zoom meetings has been able to help us unite. But the trick with that is giving specific direction, making sure they have an outline of what they're supposed to do, and then following up. And the bigger piece of the puzzle is hiring the right people. It may take you 3 or 4 times to get through a remote worker. I've had people say, I can't get anybody that's a remote worker. Do some different questions on the front end, understand when their holidays are, understand how and when they're going to work. Are they going to work your hours or are they going to work our hours? Because if you're working with people across the world, across the pond, you know, if they're in the UK, they're like 12 hours ahead of us. If they're in the Philippines, they're exactly flip-flopped. So are you going to ask them to stay up all night? And if you're asking them to stay up all night, what level of work are you asking them to do? So it's a great opportunity. I've got a video guy who is the best video guy I've ever dealt with. He lives in the Philippines. He works during his day. I work during my day. We communicate through Facebook. We also communicate through Slack, and it's great. But the trick to it all is communication and a clear outline of what you want those people to do. Anybody have any questions or comments on the remote workers?
Sorry, I don't see any questions on the chat.
Okay, that's cool. All right. So the next piece we're going to use, how many of you guys are technology gurus? Do you guys like technology? Put in the chat a 1 if you love technology. Put a 2 in the chat if you do not like technology. 1, Teresa loves it. All right. All right, I got a bunch of techies. All right, that's awesome. Okay, that's good. That's good. So you guys already are probably good with the technology slides, because we're challenging you to understand that technology is your friend and that using it, and a lot of the things that I've talked about, you guys are probably already doing, using it for CRMs, invoicing, social media, project management, cloud-based. I mean, everybody's got iCloud or Google Docs or any of that stuff. You guys, I'm not even going to go through like technology. You guys are already technical. You are not technologically challenged like some of the groups that I deal with. Some of them, if I'd asked that question, I would have had all 2s because they were like, nope, not using technology. But it looks like you guys have mastered technology. The trick with technology is understanding how this system worked with this system and how to get them to work together. So And then the other piece of the puzzle, if you are not technologically savvy, outsource it to someone who is. Don't spend all your time struggling through technology. Find a way to learn the piece that you need to learn. Like, I need to look at this report and I need to look at this piece of it, but the rest of it, I'm going to outsource to someone who is technologically savvy. And even for those of you who are, outsource some of that stuff anyway. You guys need to be focused on running the business, not down in the weeds, actually doing the business.
Right. Well, there's one question in the chat and it's from Mario. How will AI impact the workforce? I think
So,
that's kind of like the genie in the bottle.
so AI is a great tool. I don't know how many of you guys are using AI already, but it's a great tool, but it's not going to replace the human experience. So if I put in chat, like, what does the Latino chamber do for me? It's going to tell me specifically what you guys do, but it's not going to give me your personality. It's going to give me a different outlook than if I have a conversation with Olivia. There's still a personal piece to what we're doing. So with AI, it's going to give you, I say, the bones. You guys have bones and then you have meat on your bones, right? And that's your personality that goes with the rest of the AI. Now, there's some places and some pieces of technology that AI can take over and can pretty much run with. And there's some pieces that the emotional piece of it, the personal piece of it, AI cannot do. AI is a programmed computer program, and that's all it can do. Does that answer your question?
That was from Mario.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, well, I was wondering, like, we're talking about HR and, having employees who are not motivated. Is it far-fetched to think in the future we'll have robots that will be motivated, that can do some of this work? Because when you call sometimes a call center, it's all AI generated. You don't even talk to anybody. And then sometimes that doesn't leave a good experience, but then sometimes you talk to somebody and they're in a bad mood and that can lead to a bad experience. So I'm not, it seems like there's a balance there that, we have to figure out somehow.
Absolutely. And I would say long-term, Mario, yes, I bet you some of the call centers will go more and more to the AI generated. The problem, and you actually hit on that problem, is, have you guys ever called a phone number and you get the automated dialer, right? And your automated dialer says, say yes if you want to have customer service, and you say yes, and the dialer doesn't understand that you said yes, and then it asks you the same question 14 times, and you're on the phone for 45 minutes because you can't get a live person and you get frustrated. Anybody been there? Because I know I have been there. Like, you're like, I said yes. And then you use another word just to see if you can get past the automated dialer. So I think that piece of it, Mario, I think that we're always going to have to see, maybe not at the ground level, but at the supervisor level, I think there's always going to have to be some kind of human interaction. Now, who knows what they can program down the road? Because if you'd have told somebody in 1950 that we would be using cell phones as our main use of conversation, and that there wasn't a cord attached to the phone coming out of the wall, they would have thought we were nuts, right? They would have sent us on in it. So where technology is headed, it's anyone's choice. But I believe that that's still that human interaction and that piece of the puzzle that you can't replace. I think that will still be there at some level, maybe not at the ground floor, but you're still going to have it at some level. That help?
Yes, thank you.
You got it. All right. So the last module that we have, and I'm going to do this one quickly because you guys are all, I think most of you guys are scaling and growing already. It's just growing and scaling your business. Once your business is running and it's running well, scale it up and start making more money and making more of an impact on the world. The one thing you're going to need is a leadership pipeline. A leadership pipeline is like, okay, so if I'm a CEO and I retire, who's going to take my place? And if that person moves up, who's going to take their place? So what's the succession plan? How does it work? Who are you going to put in place? If Olivia decides that tomorrow she's going to resign, who's taking Olivia's place? Is she trained? Are they trained? Do we need to bring somebody from the outside? Like, what is your succession plan for you? Is your succession plan for your business that you're going to sell it and let somebody else run it? That is a succession plan. So as a business owner, you've got to know, like, what are my next steps? Am I building this for my family to take over? Am I building it to sell it? Am I building it to continue and be my legacy, but someone else will run it. And that's not always easy. Sometimes they put people in succession plans and then they get there. Have you guys been watching any of the stuff going on with Disney? Bob Iger was there. Bob Iger promoted somebody else. He's now back running the company. The succession plan didn't work. So it's just a matter of finding the right people and building that succession plan, training them in the way you want so that your business does what you want long-term. All right. So to grow your business, get to know your customers. What do they want? Give them what they want. That's what a business really is. Because if you don't have customers, you don't have sales. And if you don't have sales, you don't have a business. So no matter what they want, just figure out what it is and give it to them. Offer them great customer service. Do things that your competitors will not do. Do things that surprise your customers. That surprise, wow, and delight. You know, I'm sure that Teresa got surprised and delight from her employees when she sent those cards. How can you do the same type of thing for your customers? Hey, we just closed on your house. I sent you XYZ as a housewarming gift, or whatever it is that you do where you're at, something that your customers don't expect. Not the same thing everybody else does. Maybe it's a box with, you know, whatever it is that you're doing. It's a box that they're like, oh, this is really cool. You know, for events, they send water bottles and all kinds of different things. What can you do from your company that people want that they can say, this is amazing? Nurture those existing customers. It's easier to get money out of an existing customer than to go out and try to find 10 or 15 new ones. So take extra good care of those customers. When I worked in the stores at Home Depot, there were customers who knew my name. They would come in and ask for me. Hey, where are you at? They would come in and ask for the people on the floor. Hey, is Jorge here today? I need to ask him a question about plumbing, and he's the best plumber you've got on the floor. That was because he went the extra mile to give people that extra service. And that's what it's all about. It's all about us taking care of those people that we're here to serve. Use social media, host events, give back, and then look at what's working and what's not. What is working for your business? Because what works for my business might be different than what works for your business. We're all in different styles of companies and different sizes of companies and different types of customers. So know what your customers are doing and where they're at. And then once you get there, think bigger. Great, I'm at $2 million. Do I want to go to 10? Ooh, what would it take for me to get there? Think bigger. If your goals don't scare you, you're not thinking big enough, right? Think bigger and see if you can build a bigger vision for you, for your clients, and for your customers. So to scale your business, it's simple. Evaluate and plan. Find the money you need. Secure your sales. Invest in technology, and then add staff and outsource. And remember, what got you here will not get you there.
Nice quote.
I love that quote. All right. So that basically is your presentation for today. It was all about your back office. And again, you guys, it's all about how you're treating your employees, where you're at, build those stronghold relationships. It's all about relationships, whether it's vendors, whether it's your employees, whether it's customers, it's all about relationships. You want a vendor to do what you want, build a great relationship with them. That's the key to all of it.
Well, is there any last minute questions that you'd like to ask Shannon? So Shannon, thank you very much for all those wonderful golden nuggets. I love everything you said. And I just jotted down a couple things. It's important to build teams with our culture and to build trust, have incentives for our employees, and most of all, have a succession plan so that the work that you are doing continues. So thank you. Yeah, and then
got it. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. So on that note, I'd like to bring Maida Braga from Delta Airlines to the forefront. Hello, Maida.
Hi, everyone. Nice meeting you. Olivia, thank you for the opportunity. This presentation was really good. I love it, Cheryl. while you were presenting, I was thinking a lot of like examples that we do at Delta. So Delta Airlines, we're like a very big corporation here in the United States, and we're very focused, employee focused, and also customer focused. So while you were giving all the examples, I was thinking internally like the actions that we do. And today I wanted to present like two of our programs. The first one, it's related with our supplier diversity and inclusion. And the other one, it's a program that we have for your personal and for your business as well. So at Delta, we're very concerned on how we can improve and increase like all like the diversity that we have, not just internally. And internally, how we do that, we have different business resource groups where we have a dialogue between like all the employees on how we can bring the Latino community together, how we can make women in position of leadership, how we can bring minorities in different departments of the company. But we also know that for us to achieve diversity, we need to work externally as well. And the way that we work externally is through a program that is called Supplier and Diversity Program, where we give preference for businesses that are owned by minorities. So businesses that are owned by Latinos, by Asian Americans, by veterans, by LGBTQ and other minorities. So I will share the information about that program. We're always hiring different types of suppliers. So they can be related with aviation, but not just that. They can be a catering company, a beverage company, uniform, clothing, all sorts of business that you can imagine. We have like different supplies to be able to really engage with our operations. So definitely want to share that as an opportunity for you. And the other ones that I would like to talk about is our loyalty program. So the first one, it's called Sky Miles. So Sky Miles is a personal program where every time that you fly with Delta, you accumulate miles. And with those miles, you can redeem in different perks, such as travel awards, discounts on tickets, be able to do upgrades for a better cabin, and so others. So I definitely encourage you, if you're flying with not just Delta, but with our partners as well. So Aeromexico, Air France, KLM, Virgin, Korean Air, all of that, those airlines, they are part of this program, and you can redeem the perks with them. And the other one, it's a program called Sky Bonus that has a similar format, but it's for small and medium-sized business. So the idea is, if you have your employees traveling for business, your company also gets the perks. So the employees themselves, they will get all the miles that they can redeem for the travel awards and discounts and so on. But the company on top of that also gets that. So it's kind of like double dipping. It is completely free. All the flights that apply are not just Delta, but also Aeromexico, Korean Airlines, Air France, and KLM. So all of them are part of that. So I definitely encourage you to take advantage. As a special offer for the LA Latino Chamber of Commerce, if you enroll on Sky Bonus, we're giving $100 travel voucher for once you complete the first flight. So in order to get the discount, you have to reach out to me. So I will send all the links in the chat for you right now. And thank you, Olivia, again for the opportunity. We really appreciate being like a part of the Chamber of Commerce and supporting you guys.
Well, thank you so much for everything. I hope everyone takes advantage of these offers because they do add up at the end of the day. And getting perks like miles when you travel is really key, especially when we have families and we want to travel even more, right? And so now I'll go on to sharing our upcoming events. I know, Carlos, can you share that with me real quickly? And so please join us next Wednesday as we continue our S.T.A.R program with Southern California Edison on developing a business plan. If you haven't already RSVP, you can register directly on our website. The next item is how to do business with CVS. So for the first time this year, CVS is expanding their procurement opportunities with the chamber. This is the only program in 2023 that they're doing on the West Coast. Everything else is on the East Coast, so don't miss out. CVS is looking to do business with small businesses. So if you have products or services that you think are great, I would suggest you join this webinar. And it's on June 29th at 9:30 to 10:30 a.m. The next event after that is conversations with the chairman. So one of the things that the LA Latino Chamber does is have, if you're a member, you get certified with the Department of General Services. And who is the Department of General Services? Well, they're the largest buyer of products and services in all of California. So if you have something to sell, whether it's a service, you can actually get contracts with DGS. So this will be an intimate conversation one-on-one with our top leaderships of both organizations on how you can better capture business or opportunities with them. The next webinar session after that is cybersecurity. So how to protect your business from a cyber attack. And then we have our annual golf tournament, which registration's now open. So it is slated for Monday, October 23rd. We have a full day of just a fun time. So you can join as a single player, or you could buy a foursome. We also have sponsorship opportunities available, and you can view those on our website. And then lastly, we have Elevate Together. We just completed our first round, and we'll be making an announcement this Friday as to who the winners are of the $5,000 grant opportunity. So this round, we selected 6 businesses for a total of $30,000. So the next round will begin July 28th through August 11th. So this award or this grant is primarily for members. So if you're not yet a member, do become a member. You have the opportunity to apply, and you can see all the details on the qualifying criteria on our website. And lastly is our June membership drive. So for $150, you get general membership that's generally valued at $250. So it includes opportunities to apply for grants, free technical training and workshops, attend member events only, be a VIP at one of our events, access to events, and procurement opportunities. So if you need any more information, please reach out to me. I can be reached at olivia@lalcc.org. If you're interested in membership, you can join us at lalcc.org, membership-levels. So we want to thank Shannon for her wonderful workshop. We thank Maida at Delta Airlines, and from everyone at the Latino Chamber, LA Latino Chamber, thank you for joining us today.